Appreciate you doing this. This podcast is about your journey in music and how you got to where you are now.
It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Born and raised in Canada, I saw.
Yeah, with a bit of Maui thrown in there,
Oh,
and
really?
always going back and forth to LA and New York. Yeah.
Very cool. Tell me about that. You lived in Maui, or you just traveled back and forth there for a while?
So without getting too incredibly personal, my mom uh uh my mom and dad separated, and my mom's new boyfriend lived in Maui.
Oh,
So
okay.
we
Right
would go
on.
back and forth.
That's cool though.
Me
At
and my
least you.
brother.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about growing up were you mainly in Canada then?
hmm
Okay, talk about
Well,
that a little bit.
yeah,
Or
it's like, yeah, it's yeah,
kind of split.
yeah. It was like, it felt like maybe 40-60,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
or 60-40. Canada was. I don't know, man. It's uh, it's an interesting place to grow up, especially Vancouver. Yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings in terms of just pride or anything along those lines, or romanticism in terms of my surroundings. Nardwar is from here. I think
Is he? I love Nardwar.
Nardwar's probably the main thing I'm proud of,
Oh, that's amazing.
in terms of being from Vancouver.
That's so funny. That guy's hilarious.
Oh yeah, what an incredible talent. It's like,
hmm
um yeah, he's kind of the Jordan of
For
other
sure.
people's business, I
He's
guess.
like the Jordan of interviews. That guy's
Yeah,
so
exactly.
good. Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's awesome. So tell me, I know Vancouver is big for music, isn't it? Or not
uh
really?
huh yeah, I mean, it's I really like a lot of the bands that came out of here, um kind of my own generation, like my peers
hmm
and stuff, um like Peach Pit and
Oh
Harlequin
yeah.
Gold, and uh Hot Heat
hmm
is a bit before us, but yeah, yeah, those come to mind in terms of Vancouver.
That's awesome. And how did you get into music?
When I was 10 years old, I asked my dad for a guitar. I was a painfully shy kid, and my brothers were more into sports, and I was into nothing pretty much. Like, I think my main hobby was sulking, it would seem. uh
Sulking was your main hobby.
I was just sensitive, I think. And um and like, looking back, it wasn't a great time for our family
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. So um but I think my dad was just excited, like, oh my god, like, my son might have an interest.
Right, right. That's cool.
And
Yeah.
so he got me a guitar uh like the very next day, and lessons from a guy he knew, who played in a band, and he was the bass player of the band, but he was my guitar teacher.
hmm
And then that set off the chain reaction of a couple of the other neighborhood kids also being taught by him
Oh,
music.
okay.
And kind of he's kind of like a real life School of Rock guy in a way, because like he was willing to kind of uh bet on these kids in a way. And that led to me playing my first concert at 11 years old, which was a Beatles tribute. So
Wow.
yeah, I was the youngest member of like a 5 person Beatles tribute band with my 13-year-old brother on drums, and we played Get Back and Twist and Shout and Hard Day's Night. And
Wow.
yeah, and then the following year we like we did like Happiness is a Warm Gun and Norwegian Wood and like Help with the harmonies and stuff. We tried to get fancy.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the point being was just like I wasn't good at all. And my guitar teacher Al, like he just always believed there was something special, even because I was tone deaf, like entirely tone deaf. Somebody would sing a note, I'd sing a different note, and thought we had sung the same note.
Mhm.
And uh, and pretty quickly, once the Beatles cover band broke up, uh, I was kind of writing. Yeah, this makes me sound like I was like 30 at the time. No, just a washed up 12-year-old. Um, so I was like writing my own songs, and the rest of the bandmates didn't like them, and I probably couldn't deliver them very well with my voice. But my guitar teacher was like, no, you sound like Isaac Brock. It's like Modest Mouse. It's good.
Mhm.
And he eventually, I guess you could blame ADHD or like anything for like why I was so slow to pick up music,
Mhm.
whatever. And but in particular, like while everybody else was learning how to be like Slash or Jimmy Page at the time and learning scales and figuring out how to solo, because like that is, let's be honest, like for a 12-year-old or 10-year-old, like you're
Yeah.
learning guitar to like
To be those
be the
guys.
center of
Yeah.
attention.
Right. Totally.
Not me. Well, I would love to be, but yeah, scales absolutely not. I could hardly count, so there's no way. There's no way I could like figure that out. So yeah, I just went into songwriting, and we started having songwriting lessons instead, because he figured that was the uh it's kind of this amazing thing that I think we should apply to most kids, which is just yeah, find out what somebody's strength is and play to that. Don't just like hit them over the head with like what everybody else is supposed to be good at, whatever. And so
Yeah.
I
I love
love.
that. I love that
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
because I have two kids and it's like I want them to do stuff that I like and it's like sometimes they don't care about certain things that I think's cool and then it's like, "Oh, well, be your own person, do your own thing."
yeah. Like ideally, that that's what we want, right? It's like
Mhm.
but but yeah, there's an ego death in that, I'm sure,
Oh yeah.
to understanding that you might have separate interests.
Totally, totally.
But yeah, like so I just wasn't very good at all. And even a couple years ago, my guitar teacher Al took me, like we were talking about stuff, and he was like, um, like your parents took me aside like several times and asked if like these lessons were worth it at all.
Are
And
we
like,
just throwing our money away?
yeah, no, for real though, like they were like, is anything improving? Like, and Al would be like, yeah, I see a twinkle in the distance of a kid who might one day, I have no idea, but yeah,
But he was right, you
yeah,
know?
and yeah, no, it's a testament. Like, uh, I credit him, uh, to to uh to kind of the positive reinforcement
Mhm.
idea that made me think that, even though I was tone deaf, I could be a singer. Even though I was a lot of things, I could be a successful singer. And yeah, he just championed my songwriting and my lyrics from the beginning. And then I think, yeah, especially in in the beginning, I would just spend hours and hours and hours a day working on it.
Mm-hmm. And then you would what present it to him the
Yeah.
next lesson, and he'd kind of help you write it out or fix parts or.
Yeah, and then early on when I played in those first couple concerts, even though I was the least technically talented, um, people uh, pointed out I had, what is known as stage presence or
Mm-hmm.
charisma, and because for whatever reason it just feels so nice to get a pat on the back. As a kid, I started kind of studying charisma and studying stage presence, and just copying whoever I thought did it best. So
Mm-hmm.
like I wound up performing in a way that was like almost like almost like choreographed little bits from everybody. Like
Yeah.
the way that Kurt Cobain would like headbang back and forth, and like where he put his guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and then and I kind of continued to do that until I found my own thing. But it was, yeah, it's just I have this thing where like if you tell me I'm good at something, I'm going to like obsess over that thing and try to really prove you right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's a good skill set to have, just that drive and ambition, obviously for what you love.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I was just an awful student. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, with that, like from the lessons, obviously, you said you still talk to your guitar teacher. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously that relationship's still there, but from those lessons, what was like? Did you meet or did you jam with other kids in the neighborhood? You said other kids were going to this house. Like, did
Yeah.
that kind of form a band?
Yeah. I was in a few different bands growing up, and I was the singer of all of them. Uh, I was the singer guitar player of one of them,
Mm-hmm.
where my friend Bryce would sing for the most part, and I think generously we'd probably be called a punk band.
Okay.
And then everything else I was like the singer for, and one of the bands was just because I think I was like pretty damn inspired by Jack White and the White Stripes.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a band where I was guitar and vocals, and my brother was on the drums when I was like 15 or so, and then
Does
yeah,
he still
and
play drums? Your brother?
yeah, he plays drums for a hardcore band in town.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Rad. I didn't know if he was still playing or playing with you guys. That's cool. Yeah. So from those bands, I saw obviously you were in the band Japanese Girls for a while,
yeah,
which became Hotel Mira.
yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. So what led to Japanese Girls?
So I guess I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
and I did a talent show with my previous band, and a couple people in the audience, again, just like people around the neighborhood, saw us perform, and the drummer liked my stage presence, and he kind of just had his band explode
Mm-hmm.
in a bad way, like implode, I should say. And So he recruited me to go be in that band, and the guitar player was Oliver Mann, who we continued being in the same band for yeah, into being uh, Japanese Girls for like, yeah, years. But Yeah, when that started off, like our main inspirations were like Rage Against the Machine and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to be something like that, but yeah, it was nuts because we were doing our thing, and playing together, and nobody really liked us as far as like other bands. We were still kind of a laughing stock of sorts.
Mhm.
But we believed in what we did, and
Was
uh
it just like they didn't understand what you guys were trying to do? Like
no,
what?
we were probably bad in a way, early on, like, because
Like every band?
again, like, I couldn't sing. Like, I can like, I can't stress how bad I was. So it was just a lot of
Was
just
there
kind
like
of a
a
lot of A for effort energy, I
yeah?
think. And
Was
when
there
we
a moment that
dressed,
it clicked though with your voice? I mean, there had to be because you can
probably
sing. I mean,
thanks. Like, honestly, for me, it was this last record where I actually started uh singing in a way where, like, um it felt like it matched what I wanted to be doing. Like, the way I put it is like, my voice finally caught up with my pen.
oh sure,
Yeah.
okay.
So that was like, yeah, that was on the Perfectionism record, and before then it's really just been a thorn in my side of, like, you know, this thing that I've just always been working on, and
Hmm.
either quietly or loudly being criticized for, and yeah, it just kind of kept going.
Hmm.
But yeah, so with that band, with Oliver Mann, at 18 years old, we started talking to record labels.
Wow.
It was nuts, man. And
So was there like you said that like you're kind of the laughing stock band, but obviously year later you're talking to labels. Like
yeah.
what changed?
Well, I think there's like a taste of that still exists to this day. I think for the most part, the people who like um what we do are usually not fellow musicians.
Mm. Oh,
They're
you were
like,
being judged by you guys
yeah,
are being judged by just I mean, other bands, but obviously people were still coming
yeah,
to your shows. Got it.
precisely. Yeah, so it's like this thing where, um, and I'm weirdly proud of that. Because
Yeah, who
it's
cares what
like,
the other bands think?
yeah,
As long as people are coming, right?
yeah, and yeah. So I
Well,
think
that must have been a
some
pretty
people could see what was special about it.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that must have been pretty validating. You're getting label interest, and I bet a lot of those bands that were hating on you weren't.
Yeah, I mean, that was cool, but I remember being just so ambitious and hard on myself that it was closer to a, like, uh um rather than just being happy, I was kind of like, oh, thank God. Like, now I won't be as much of a joke, whatever. And then it was really strange, because I was 18, and a good friend of mine from high school was also 18,
Mhm.
and he got diagnosed with leukemia,
Oh,
and then I kind of he died like 6 months later, and
oh my
uh,
gosh.
it really changed how I felt, and I became even more of a workaholic than I was. It created these blinders on me that, whenever I'd like get tired or what have you, I'd be like, well, Oliver doesn't get to. Oliver was the name of my friend who died, and
Mhm.
I get that that's confusing, because Oliver was also the name of my guitar player. But
Mhm.
this kid, um, uh, when he was dying, it was really clear, and it just made me go, okay, like, that's how fragile life is. Better go after what I want. And all I wanted to
Uh-huh.
be was, an entertainer. So I just kind of uh pedal to the metal, just worked my ass off and
Mm-hmm.
didn't really care about anything else. And I think to some people that was really obnoxious and whatever. Who cares? Um, I hope I wasn't um, too much of a prick to people, but yeah, it really made me just like see things a bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he died at his funeral, his his mom and I were talking. You know, I'm 18 years old. I'm going up to this woman whose son had just died at 18 years old, and I say like, you know, what do you say at a time like this? And she was like, just let him live on, let him live on through your music, with tears in her eyes, because
Wow.
she knew I was a musician. And I was like, okay, no pressure.
Right.
But yeah, but that motivated me forever in terms of like somewhere between survivor's guilt and an actual uh yeah, I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
that certainly sticks out to me as a thing that shaped how I felt about uh
Mm-hmm.
ambition, I guess.
Sure. And when that all took place and happened, were you in the band? Was Japanese Girl the band that you guys
Yeah,
were pursuing at the time?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Like we were teenagers. Like
Mm-hmm.
looking back, it's just so it's so nuts to me that I was so hard on myself uh at 18,
Mm-hmm.
19, just being like, this has to fucking work, you know?
Right.
Like it's kind of wild.
Yeah. Well, you guys, you said labels are interested. You
Hmm.
signed with Light Organ Records.
That's right.
Um, was like what did they do for you? Did they put your first record out? Did they put you on a tour?
Yeah.
What was
So
next for you
I
guys
was
once you signed?
I was going to theater school at the time in Vancouver, and my theater school had a weird rule where you weren't really supposed to do things outside of theater school. It was like a
It's like
distraction or
law
whatever.
school or something.
Yeah. So I was in this band and I was like pretty quiet about it. But the thing was, is like I was going to school like 8 a.m. to um, around 8 p.m. every day.
Whoa.
And then also we'd be recording our album with this guy named Justin Brown whenever we could get free studio time, which was usually like 3 in the morning.
Wow.
So I'd be going to record. You know, I get a text or a phone call being like, you know, we've got time for you to do vocals today at 3 in the morning. So I was like, okay. So I'd go record vocals from 3 to 6 a.m. and then I'd go to school or whatever. And so I was just I was losing it, just going so hard.
Oh
But
my gosh.
that record that we made um while we were still kind of in conversation with the label, we were like, we made the whole record on our own time on those, free studio days, because our friend was, in school at a recording school,
Mm-hmm.
and the deal was, if you sign us, you can put out this album that we've
Uh,
already made.
okay.
Yeah, so that was
Cool.
our I'm not going to take credit for that at all. I was just out of my mind writing songs. Like
You're like, whatever's gonna happen.
whoever was the fucking music like business mastermind, it wasn't fucking me. That's for
That's funny. Well, did you tour that record, that first EP?
sure. Yeah. I think off of that we got accepted to be in BMA Festival, which was in Bilbao, Spain, and we played some shows
Whoa.
with July Talk. And yeah, being that young and then going to
Spain to play a
yeah,
festival.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. It was a few years after. It was a few years later, but yeah, that was what was going on.
Wow. And then you guys put out two records as Japanese Girls before this new band started?
Um, Three,
Oh
including
yeah,
the first
Divorce was
EP.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and it was amazing. Like we got to, I got to pretty early on off the success of Circulation. We got to play Pemberton Festival, which um, Kendrick Lamar headlined, and I got to meet Father John Misty, which at the
Wow.
time was like this huge inspiration for me, and yeah, like it, what's going on behind the scenes versus what's going on to the public with any band, I think is quite uh uh
Different.
yeah, because you've got to look cool and successful no matter how hard you're tanking, and I've got mixed feelings about that. But I remember just trying to remember just trying to bookmark how um I was really doing it, and touring Europe and touring the UK, and uh getting trashed by Enemy magazine and stuff. I was like, well, man, like this is pretty,
You
even
made
even
it.
well, even if I come home to Canada and people don't know who the band is, um I know that that's not the case worldwide.
Sure. I mean, if you're getting recognition from NME, that's like the
Yeah.
gold standard of the
Well,
UK.
and it was funny. It was funny because they liked the single that we put out first, like to the point where they did like a big thing on it. And for me, like I loved all the Enemy bands growing
Oh
up. So
yeah,
I
of
was like,
course.
oh my God. And then they trashed our first record and I was like, ouch. And then they trashed our second record and I was like, this is actually kind of cool.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's rad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then yeah, so um being in a band is incredibly difficult, and we toured a ton. And also, the bandmates for that band, we're just high school buddies,
Mhm.
so it's not necessarily um everybody's exact dream or
Mhm.
focus necessarily when they actually get into it. And I'm sure I was a difficult person to be in a band with for some things, no matter how much I was trying not to be, and just personalities clashed, and Oliver quit, then and then the rest of the band quit, and I was kind of like didn't even know if I had a job anymore.
Mhm.
And then called up Colton, and who had joined our band as like the touring guitar player after Oliver quit, and I was like, if I make another band, do you want to be the guitar player? And he said yes, and then kind of started the new Hotel Mira journey.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not to stay in the weeds with Japanese girls, but real quick, what would you say like the highlight from, or like the takeaway milestone moment of divorce was with that record?
Um, uh, I remember we did the tour that was like way too ambitious. It was like America, Canada, and Europe.
Wow.
And The Great Escape in the UK. That was a big moment for us because the place was just packed to the gills, and then it
Mhm.
got written about. South by Southwest, we had a good showing in a really um, uh, satisfying way. And and then and then yeah, and then just like little gigs we'd play
Mhm.
in places in California, and New York is like my favorite place in the world. So anytime we got to play New York and meet our fans from out there, that was like very affirming, because I just have such a connection with that city, and I lived there for a while, and so many of my favorite bands are from there, and I'd put little New York Easter eggs in all my music forever. So
That's cool. Right on. Well, excuse me. When you flipped the name and started Hotel Mira, was that like did some of those fans spill over from Japanese girls, or was it like did you guys start fresh?
Yeah, it I think um Dave Schiffman, who worked on the EP with us, the Hotel Mira EP, the phrase he used that stuck with me was like, "Don't be afraid to lose 1,000 fans to gain 20,000."
That is a good point.
So he kind of was always encouraging this idea that, like, people might come with you on this new journey and people might not or whatever, but yeah, I think for the most part, people just uh, were able to just come along and kind of like the old records and get on board for the newer ones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at your Spotify. It looks like they all cruised over for the new record. I mean, almost every song has almost a million plays. So
Yeah, yeah, and then there's like this how do I put it? Oh, I lost my thought. Sorry.
all good. Well, with that first Hotel Mira record, was it like how did you guys brand it? Was it just start fresh? Was it like, hey, we're gonna start playing local gigs in Canada again, and then kind of expand out? Like, how did you guys do it?
Um, yeah, I think what I wanted, which I'm not sure how much it happened, was um I just wanted to like get back out there immediately and not lose any momentum and not lose any goodwill. So I came up with like a gajillion names and a whole bunch of plans and putting together a lineup to kind of have the turnover be almost instantaneous, and that just kind of could never uh take shape. And it was unfortunate because, like, while we waited uh to reveal uh the new ideas, we got dropped by various people, not our label but other people. And
Mhm.
so yeah, so by the time we uh we started back up again, it kind of was like a new band.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And excuse me again. And then you put out. I saw that you put out Perfectionism on Valentine's Day of last year.
Yeah.
So that would have been like right before the world kind of shut down, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
um
Where were you guys pre-coronavirus, and how did that affect you after the fact?
well, it was funny because we'd put out some of the material that was going to be on Perfectionism, and we're kind of touring it and setting up plans to uh tour all this year, of
Mhm.
course. And we were getting some radio success for, in a lot of ways, the first time in my entire career. People were liking the uh, music in a way that was like, even the gatekeepers were kind of on board, which has never been my experience.
Uh-huh.
We just have this. I'm used to just having this, for lack of a better word, like cult fame, or whoever likes us a lot. But
Sure.
they're usually just people who tell their friends. And
Uh-huh.
again, that's really cool to me. Like, I don't have a problem with that. That's kind of
Right.
it's ideal, right? Like,
Yeah, you'd
because
want an organic fan base, I would think, instead of having the one hit that people know and then you kind of fade
and then they can
away.
bail, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
This way is like there's something that could be lasting.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, so we started getting some radio success with one of the songs on the album called "This Could Be It for Me."
Mhm.
After having released another song on the album called Jungle, which we all thought was gonna be the big hit, and it kind of did nothing at radio,
Hmm.
uh, and then we kind of really all the plans we had was to make a video for This Could Be It For Me and put This Could Be It For Me through a radio campaign, and everything else we were doing was kind of be like um, way more touch and go,
Mm-hmm.
and way more uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'd booked an entire like U.S. tour by myself that was gonna happen in the summer. I know it was tough.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
like it was like 4 hours a day of like cold calling people for like months. And
Oh my gosh.
the day we were like applying was the day before lockdown.
Oh my gosh.
We were planning to tour all summer and stuff, but the saving grace is the This Could Be It For Me got on the radio and got past some gatekeepers and wound up charting, and then charted really quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, and then uh, so we've had radio success all through 2020 and a bit of 2021,
That's amazing.
and our fan base has grown, and people really seem to have loved the record in a way that none of my stuff has ever been this popular. So it's it's just super kind of bittersweet and
Uh-huh.
weird, and
Yeah.
I'm really grateful. Obviously, um, you, me, and everybody want live music, and in particular, I want to connect with uh, fans on stage with
Uh-huh.
this record, because the small amount of that we did before the lockdown, the couple shows we played after the album came out were dynamite. Like some of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite experiences of my entire music career, just in terms of how uh, on board people were. I got on
Mm-hmm.
the stage and I barely had to sing because people were
Wow.
so passionate about what I had to say. It was just all coming back at me, and this record isn't uh, um, this record is lyrically, it came from a very intimate and vulnerable place, to the
Mm-hmm.
point where like I was pretty much every song had me like uh scared or in tears when I was thinking about releasing it.
Uh-huh.
Because yeah, it's just there was a lot that I um wanted to say that I didn't know how it would go over.
Mm-hmm.
Our biggest radio single is like explicitly about uh you know having suicidal thoughts, uh and having them come up at like very inopportune times, and
Mm-hmm.
then the big kind of silver lining is like it'll go away,
Mm-hmm.
but also it might come back. There's it's probably going to come back again. So there's the line of if it's not tonight, then it's still on my mind. How nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the refrain of
Yeah.
our big radio single.
It's a brilliant lyric.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then there's
that's
stuff on like speaking off the record and ladies and gentlemen and some other songs where it's just it's just intensely revealing and stuff. So
sure.
it was so cool to go on stage and uh have people be so on board, because it was just I don't know, like I don't know how to say it other than
Yeah.
just like I was digging deep.
Oh, I've heard that. It's interesting to me to hear that's your story too, because I've heard this similar story, obviously, a handful of times where artists will say, so afraid. I've been doing this forever. And then I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to put out this one thing that it really meant a lot to me, but I was afraid of it. And then that's the thing that takes off. Or you think it's going to be one thing. Like you thought Jungle would be the hit. And then
Mhm.
it ends up becoming this other song that you're super vulnerable with.
Yeah.
You know what I
Y-
mean? It's just, it's interesting to me how that
And
all kind of happens.
yeah, and who knows? Because like maybe Jungle was what made people take notice.
Uh-huh.
So this could be it for me. Could be a success. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
because in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of things like that where like say in acting, if you get close to a role and the director and the producer are like, oh man, like I think he might not be the guy for this job, but he clearly is the guy for something.
Right.
They might call you with the next project that you're like less right for, but somehow you get that one because
Yeah. Because they had
you
already
were so
seen
good for the
you.
one that you were actually right for.
Right.
It's such fucking nonsense, but yeah.
Yeah, I did see that you've done quite a bit of acting, right? And you said you're in theater school.
Yeah, that's my other gig for the most part, and like playwriting and screenwriting a bit as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Was was this record, the most recent one, the first time you ever heard your song on the radio before, or what, or did you get a little bit of that beforehand?
I'd written a Christmas song called Red and Green, and they played that on the radio a couple times. So I'd had little instances
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and small amounts of success with some other songs.
Was that cool to
Um,
hear, like yourself on the air for the first time? Like,
oh, dude, yeah, there's nothing really like it. And recently, you know, early on with this could be it for me, I'd get like a call from my manager being like, okay, they're gonna like play it at this time, like
mhm,
in this like chunk. So
this block of songs
if
or
you
whatever.
want to go get in your car and listen to it, it'll be that. But the other day I was just driving back from visiting my dad a couple months ago or whatever. I just turned on my car and there was us playing on the radio and I was like, "Oh, wow. That's a bit different." Like that was like to the
Yeah.
point where I thought like my phone had come on or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, is my oh, never mind.
No, that was
Wow. Yeah, like
them just liking it.
that's so cool to be in regular rotation at a station. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I am uh blown away. And
Hmm.
honestly, I think it's like as where I'm trying to find a silver lining in it is when all that success was happening earlier this year, like um obviously it was far from the common narrative, and we couldn't get together and talk about it or anything.
Hmm.
So um uh I'm a pretty self-destructive person by nature, not very comfortable with uh uh success in a lot of ways. And to quietly have been succeeding to the point where people aren't just asking me about it constantly or I am freaking out about it or whatever. Like I got to freak out about it quietly, which I'm actually really grateful for because I could just see it going off the rails. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
I think especially these days, like I'm trying to value my privacy more, and
Hmm.
yeah, fame really trips me out.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, knowing everybody knowing your business is kind of bizarre, I could imagine.
yeah, and yeah, I'm I'm happy to do that in my music, and I understand that uh that's why a lot of people dig it.
Uh-huh.
But but yeah,
Uh-huh.
there's like other aspects of that that
Sure, sure.
I now get why people are reluctant
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well,
to live their life like an open wound, the
mhm.
way I have at times.
Uh-huh. With perfectionism coming out, last year during the right before the pandemic hit, um, have you written? Were you able to write a lot in this? Were you inspired at all? Being stuck inside, were you just like, I'm over this? Like, because you just put an album out. By the time we're still, in quarantine, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
you probably have another record ready. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I started writing immediately. Yeah, I mean, I was writing. We knew the 11 songs we were going to write for that record,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which I guess was January 2019. We
Mm-hmm.
were recording that, and
Oh
I
wow.
had, I had stuff that I was, already writing for the next record back then. So I think at this point I have like 25 song ideas that I think are pretty well formed and ready to cut them down to 12 or 13 and make another record. But also I don't really want to make a full length record that I can't tour. So,
Right. Yeah,
you
that was
know,
kind of where I was going. Like, is it that because you just put an album out and you haven't even had a chance to tour it really? Because right when you
yeah.
put it out, everything closed, and then you'll have another record ready. It's like, do you let the other one breathe a bit and wait on those songs and put them out, or just put them out as they come?
Yeah. Well, again, luckily there's still some life left in this album cycle to be corporate.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to do a few more things I think with this before moving
Moving
on
forward. Yeah.
um to new material and new ideas. I think. Yeah.
I love it. That's cool. Well, yeah, I did see you've done quite a few live streams on your Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy doing those? Or are those something that you're going to continue to do to promote the record?
Um uh yeah, sometimes well, yeah, usually I'll just go live and play songs acoustically for the fans and
Mm-hmm.
talk to people if they have questions and stuff, and I enjoy doing that, and I usually just delete it immediately because I probably fuck up lyrics and I am a perfectionist or whatever,
Okay.
so I'll delete that. But then there's, yeah, like I wanted to interview my friend from a band called the OBGMs, so then I decided to start like a kind of janky, very flawed interview show over Instagram Live. So that's one thing. That's a little like project that I'm working on, and then I wrote a full length screenplay. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, so that's kind of been a bit of like the busyness of what I've gotten up to, because truthfully, like what what I realized pretty quickly in quarantine is like, um when things were fucked up in my family, or when things were fucked up in my personal life, I would go in the other room and write songs
Hmm.
since I was like 10. And now this is just kind of the big boy version of that. Like, fucked up things are going on and I'm going in the other room to write.
Uh-huh.
Because it's
Yeah, it's
it's it's
taking
like
you back to 10 years old again.
it's soothing on some level, I think. Yeah, it's like the ultimate distraction for me is like trying to find words that rhyme, or trying to find narrative, or trying to find chord progression I like and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I think that's almost like time travel, where I can kill 6 hours doing that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
not really notice.
That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for talking with me today, Charlie. I appreciate you and doing this. I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Um, I really like um the idea of just doing anything because you like it and continue to do it even if it's uh bad, or like described as bad or whatever. It's like Kurt Vonnegut says, where he would just encourage people to like be in the arts, or like appreciate the arts, no matter what your like standing is in it. And yeah, I would encourage people to not go into it with a competitive mindset, and I don't know, just everything. Like being ambitious is really cool and important, and that's how I am. But um, there's so much that's like beautiful and pure about doing this thing, um, without any real goals in mind. Um, and I think that's where you really will be able to find your voice, and that's probably when people are actually gonna give a shit when you're doing things that really uh, serve what something in you and inspire you. Um, yeah. So and then yeah, and then just like pursue originality, I think, and try and make something that people haven't uh made before. And um because I don't know, I just don't think that there's too much need in uh I don't know, copying something that already exists. But at the same time, if that's your artistic kind of ambition, is to like um make a band that sounds exactly like the Stooges or whatever it is, like there's a place for that as well. I just think that there's a place for um everything and everyone when it comes to this stuff. So
Bringing it backward.